Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. Do you remember? It's the 21st day of September, and that's all the singing I'm going to do. So you've been saved. I am here today with the Saturday podcast to talk about the other side of men's uh, of the blog I did about why the Trump and the GOP really hate women. So the deal is, it really comes from fear. But I don't care about any of that. I can only be negative so long. And man, are the trolls out. And you gotta love the trolls. And I know some people are watching me play with the trolls, and I'm sorry, it's kind of fun sometimes. But no matter what, it comes down to bad Twitter handles. So they're fake people. They have like 3 followers or okay, maybe 50. And they end everything with attacking women personally. Like there's a gender attack, usually some sort of ad hominem name calling, and then also my favorite comeback in an argument. This one kills me. You lie. Like, no, I'm not lying. I might be misinformed, but I'm not lying. And generally I try to do my homework, so hopefully I'm not misinformed either. But I love that that's the argument. You lie. And this is from Trump supporters, which is the ultimate irony, right? Any Trump supporter who's saying you lie, bonkers. Okay, so let's get through today because I think this is a good podcast. But here's the deal. I realized when I was writing it, I started to write it for men because I thought, God, I took a big chunk out of them the other day and I don't like it. But those are the men, those are the white Christian nationalists. Let's just be really clear, or you can be clear. I don't really care. But let's be clear that what I'm trying to do here is identify the men that are really afraid of women and are making every move they can to block our agency and our ability to be full human beings. And they're doing the same thing with people of color. So this is not just a woman's fight. This is actually anybody who's not a white Christian nationalist, male white Christian nationalist fight. If you're a female white Christian nationalist, good on you. I don't care who you vote for and I don't care what you do, but I'll still help you when things go wrong because that's the kind of person I am. But you're not voting in your interests if you are a white woman and you're voting for Trump. You're simply not. And I do not lie. I am telling you the truth. You do not know what your future holds. You do not know what's going to happen to you. And if you don't have agency and if you don't have the ability to be independent and to function on your own, you're going to be in a world of hurt, ma'am. But your sisters are here for you because that's what we do. Not like it, but we will support you. But I'd like you to support us now and actually try to get America back on track. So what I have today is I decided to call it the Walz-Emhoff effect. And I could actually put Ketanji Brown's husband in this category. There's a number of men out there who are absolutely slaying as partners. And when I started to write this, of course, I was writing about, the toxic males. And I started this as how to be a great guy. And I still called it how to be a great guy. But the thing is, I think we all need to be a great guy. So while I use the word guy, it's kind of like in California, especially near the beach, where we call everybody dude. And you've never laughed harder until you hear my daughter call me dude across the store. Dude. And dude usually means in our house, dude is like, hey, you look, it means she's going to show me something cool or correct me in a cultural way. So in this case, I decided we're all going to be dudes, and not to be too big Lebowski about this whole thing, but we are all going to be great guys. And so what at times I may mention men in this, and that's only because in that particular case, it seemed really relevant to remind men of something that's very, very associated with their masculinity and some of the tropes they've had to live with, some of the ways they've been socialized. So I did call out men at times. But let's face it, we've all been socialized around patriarchy. So that's why I decided we all need to be good guys. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the thing I hope you argue about the most. I would be delighted if everybody decides to argue about this, because this to me is the perfect thing that we all need to argue about. So the first thing I did is I decided to come up with what I thought in the zeitgeist, right? In our cultural zeitgeist and how people are talking about things. The first thing I wanted to do is try to come up with 3 qualities that make you a good person. And I mean a good person in terms of a person in society that has to deal with other people, not the good person that you might have your relationship with God or your relationship with your higher power or your spiritualness, however you, not that good person part. I'm talking about being a good person as you function in a society, because that is the nature of what I'm talking about, right? Working in our democracy and functioning as a society. So I tried my best to come with the three things that right now in our collective zeitgeist are possibly the most important qualities you could have as a human being. The first is empathy, and that's understanding the emotion of others. And I don't care if you don't have gender or if you do. If you're out in the world, empathy is quite possibly one of your most powerful weapons. Like I said, you can argue with these three. I think that would be awesome. But I consider empathy to be massive. It allows you to connect deeper, help those around you feel heard and valued. And people who practice empathy are more likely to build strong, meaning relationships and contribute positively to communities. So, as a social being, as a person who has to connect with others in the world, empathy is everything. Empathy is everything from knowing that the person that's honking behind you probably has to go to the bathroom really badly and not that they're just psychotic. Empathy allows you to imagine someone else is having a crisis that has nothing to do with you and their weird behavior is completely theirs. That's empathy. Just being able to see the world in a higher context and know that you are not the center of the universe. You are not the center of the universe. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one I think is incredibly important. It's incredibly important in this context of our culture, and that's integrity. You can also think of it as authenticity. You can think of it however you need to think of it. It means being honest and holding strong moral principles. And these are not principles gifted to you by God. If that's your choice, that's fine. In Judaism, we're taught to question God, because if you haven't questioned God, then how can you know God, right? That's a really great way to think about what you're doing. And that's the same thing with your moral values. I don't want you to just have them because somebody told them to you. I want you to believe in them because you've thought about them and you've considered it and you've questioned it. And these you've decided are the things you need to be. So integrity is so important, because if you look around, we really have an integrity gap. Okay, and then we have, of course, resilience. And that is the ability to let go of feelings that are not productive. In a resilient situation is you get in a fight or you have something bad to you and you feel bad for a while, but then you get over it. I call it, there's one kind of human that I avoid at all costs, and that's a human that's inconsolable. I actually had a friend who was going to marry somebody who's inconsolable. She married him. But you know the fight they have all the time about his feelings, he can't get over it. I saw it from the first night. I'm like, oh my God, he's not bouncing. He has the resilience. Resilience is really important. It's something we need to teach our children. It just means you can brush yourself off and get over it. It doesn't mean that I'm devaluing your feelings. It means you're able to put your feelings in perspective relative to other things. And you're able to cope and function. And being resilient builds trust and respect. And people will be attracted to you because you're modeling a kind of behavior that we all aspire to. So I have empathy, integrity, and resilience. You can let me know what you think, but those are my biggies. Those are my biggies when I think about the really important qualities that people should have. Now, argue with me. I love it. You can leave comments wherever you are. You can leave a comment or you can come on Twitter and play. But I'd love to hear if you take something down off this, if you make something a number 4 or number 5, and what you move up to 1 or 2 or 3. So there you go. That's the big thing about resilience. But now, if go back to what I did the other day, is that I broke the Project 2025 of the white nationalist men down into 5 areas where there's a problem, where they're fighting. They want to fight and change the world because it doesn't work for them. And the first thing was about the patriarchy. And this has got to go, guys. It's going to upset people to say we want to get rid of the patriarchy, but we've been trying to get rid of the patriarchy for a long time. The patriarchy doesn't mean, well, first you might hear feminism when I say get rid of the patriarchy. But what I'm really saying is that there are a bunch of rules in our culture that are designed to diminish others and raise, in particular, white men up, but men as well. So it's to raise men up as well. So we want to make sure that we're watching these things and that we want to get rid of the patriarchy, because it's really how can I say this? It's a paradigm that's dated, that's not productive. And I believe for our democracy, it actually is hurting us. I think it's actually doing harm now. It may have served it like everything. They tell you this in therapy all the time. Things that work for you as a child don't work for you as an adult. I feel like patriarchy worked in the infancy of our country for some reasons to just it just gave some things some order, but it doesn't work anymore. It's not productive. So what do we want to do if you're not being patriarchal, if you're not believing in someone has power just because they're a man? Well, here we go. Men are terrified losing this power and losing the control over women's lives, careers, and bodies. Yes, they've had that kind of control. And if you look at 2025 and the previous podcast, I think it's day 48, you will see that this is key to their political philosophy is the ability to use women as property, basically keep women as property. And they want to keep people of color as property too. They actually, I think, I'm really worried they want to actually harm gay people and trans people. But we've seen now what they've said, what JD Vance has said about the Haitians in Ohio. He's been ruthless. They're here legally. They're regular human beings. They're not less than. And yet he's walking around with a patriarchal view, and he's made them less than. So here's what we do if we don't want to ascribe to the patriarchy. We focus on partnership, not power. This is something I'm trying to, I talk to my kids about this all the time. It's Katie and her boyfriend figuring things out. I talk a lot about mutuality and that if they can't figure out how to solve a problem together, they have to figure out who's going to solve the problem and why. Like I really wanted to figure out that mutuality and how to have that ability to come together to do certain things and then also be healthy and have their own independent activities. So focusing on partnership, not power, is important. It's not who makes the decision, it's how you make the decision. Support others' ambitions. That's just, to me, that's just partnership. But if you have people, your kids, anybody, support them. Support them. Why did you give birth to them if you were going to be their hero? And I'm sorry they didn't turn out the way you expected. I doubt any of us turned out the way our parents expected. And if you did, I need to come. We need to go party because I need to stir it up a little bit, unless you had amazing parents. But generally, we need to support each other, and that we forget that that's part of what we're here for, is to lift each other up. So, and then the other thing is see leadership as inclusive. So there's a big thing. I've seen this umbrella thing from the Christians. It's the white Christian nationalists in particular. I think it's the evangelicals, and it's this umbrella thing. And the umbrellas are under umbrellas only. The problem is under the big umbrella, there is no rain. So I don't know why they use umbrellas, because once you're under the big umbrella, you don't need more umbrellas. So there's that. And I think that's probably the biggest flaw in the way that the umbrella illustration works, is that if you believe in God, then God protects you and you don't need all these other umbrellas. Their other umbrellas are just about power. Think about it. Every umbrella under the big umbrella is about power. And that is trying to give men the leadership. But sometimes men aren't the best leaders. And sometimes men don't have all the answers. And sometimes they don't have empathy. And sometimes they don't want you to succeed. And there's a lot of reasons why we should always embrace other people in roles of leadership. Okay, so that's that one. That's about the patriarchy. Think about that. You're going to have to noodle over that one. Then we have social and political power. So good people, good men, good people share political and social power. And this has to do with supporting policies that benefit everyone. So you can advocate for shared social justice goals. It's often we're pit against each other. That is the nature, especially since Trump joins the party. We are, and since the Heritage Foundation figured out if they could get a whole group of people to be really anti-abortion, they could make them kind of sicko. But that fit because those are authoritative. Those are people who believe in authoritative reasoning, and they will follow a leader that's authoritative. But in this case, what we're trying to do here is advocate for shared social justice. So there's not a hierarchy, but in fact, we let everybody have the same chances. Level playing field, level social justice. We don't discriminate. Might be hard for you to hear, might be different for you, but I want you to think about that. civil rights, reproductive rights, economic equality. Activists need your voice to gain equality, and it should not be tied to your gender unless your gender is being oppressed. Then it can be about gender, but they want men on the same side as us as well. Or I'm going to take the Haitian side because they're being oppressed. Or I'm going to take the prisoner side because you know what? Even prisoners are being oppressed. And this is where we do this thing where we just put people in boxes and then we throw away the key. And I mean mental boxes. I mean boxes that have to do with how we think about them, not actually what they've done. So that's the big deal. Listen and engage in conversations. Men are not known for their listening. Good men that listen well are so sexy. Women know this. Men that listen are sexy, but anybody who listens is sexy. That's the beauty of it. So listening and engaging and being able to mirror back. You remember active listening? It's a thing we used to do. Like you'd hear somebody say something and you go, oh, what you're saying is the chicken was too spicy. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was like hot. It's so hot. Oh, active listening. The chicken was too spicy. Remember how that works? We could do more of that. In fact, I'm trying a little bit of that, just even on the trolls on Twitter, because they're so full of BS. And I'm like, let's get back to what matters. Let's just keep coming back. So anyway, listen and engage in conversations and recognize that power can be shared. And that's probably the biggest mental shift that we're asking men to make real time while they're flying the plane. We're asking them to let others share their power. And that's, let's face it, anybody who's parented, anybody who's led a group knows that when you have the power, it's kind of creepy when people are coming for it. You don't like it. I don't like it, but it's going to be okay. All right. So what's the next thing? Let's talk about people trusting one another to make their own decisions. This is not, it's just hard for me to believe we're at this point, but good people always trust one another to make their own decisions. And if they're worried about the decision, they might go talk to the person and say, can I talk to you about the decision you're going to make? But remember, feedback only works if someone wants it. That is a fundamental. So if you're giving somebody feedback and they don't ask for it, so the way I do it, I have neighbors with the young kids, right? And I used to teach preschool, so I see stuff all the time. And I have the luxury of observing them with their kids, which is really annoying if you think about it. Like, here's this smart ass me in my house, observing them with their kids. But the thing is, I know that I don't want to piss them off. So what I'll do if they're down for it is I'll say, Sydney, I made an observation. Do you want to know? And she'll go, yeah, I do, because she's like that. She's like me, like, yeah, tell me. But I don't tell them unless they want to know, because there's no point. So remember, feedback isn't feedback unless somebody wants it. All right. So when it comes to trusting other people making their own decisions, you need to respect body autonomy. We all have bodies. We all know them more than you do. We know our own bodies better than anyone. And we know what we need to do for our personal safety, for our personal health, and for our personal future. And we should be able to make our own decisions about our bodies. And that includes men, you touching us. That includes you crowding us, making us feel less than, towering over us in any way, using your body to intimidate. It includes you thinking that your wife is obligated to give you sex because you're married. She is not. She is entitled to the body time. There's another thing that comes with making your own decisions that's interesting because it's really big for men, but it's not really big for women, at least not yet anyway. And that has to do with having a legacy. And men have been raised to have this legacy, right? They slap their name on you when you get married. They slap their name on their kids. They slap their name on their businesses. They slap their name on their properties. That's a thing. That's a patriarchal thing. And in fact, it doesn't matter anymore because now we live in a world where our legacy, mine, I have all this crap out there on social media, right? That's my legacy. In addition to the things that I've done in my community, the things that I do in my personal life with my family, with my friends, but that's my legacy. But it doesn't have to be something that men are entitled to. It should be something we each earn, and we all get to have a legacy. I really didn't understand psychologically what a big deal this was, but it is. And then we have the ability to embrace changing norms. And this one, again, is going to be harder for the guys because y'all have been in charge for an awful long time. And you've seen people like you at work, and you've seen people like you on TV, and you've seen people like you everywhere. And now we're changing it up. I mean, it's been changing, And I know that the people who were scared of this ahead of time, like Trump, he's been a racist his whole life. But for the rest of you, it's just been a lot of change. And maybe it doesn't make you feel great. And I'm sorry about that, because that's not the plan. That's not the intention, isn't to make you feel great. The intention is to make you feel good about how the world is changing, and this is great for all of us. So just be aware that we are starting to change norms, and you can be part of that. Good people working on adapting to cultural change. So one is about norms, like, oh, I can't even think of a norm right now, but if I do, I'll let you know. But a norm is something that we believe in, that we all kind of do because it's just common practice. It's normal to do. It's why it's called a norm. So changing norms be like, men are always president. There's a norm. In this case, we want you to change that norm. When it comes to cultural change, this has everything to do with, it doesn't always have to be the right way. And I did say that, the right way. It doesn't mean the other way is the wrong way. It means that it needs to be a new way. This, of course, is one of the things I like most about life, because I come from a long line of white people, really kind of plain white people, if you think about it, no spices. I'm probably the craziest dancer in our family. We don't have a very big family, but I know everybody's talking about Jen's boogie in the butt. I don't know why, but I got the boogie in the butt. But I'm the outlier. So when we talk about cultural change, we're talking about delighting in the diversity and the equality of broad human experience. So I don't know if you've had Creole food before, but I have, because my best friend and my other whole family is Creole. And I didn't realize Haitian people cook Creole food. And now I really want to go to Springfield, Ohio, because if you have not had gumbo, oh, baby. Oh my God, white people, you are missing out. It is the best. So I'm going to tell you that celebrating diversity and equality is delicious and glorious, because it also means that you can dance, you can sing, you can learn new things, and you can have a great time. And if you allow people to share their culture with you, it makes for a much more diverse and interesting country. It also allows us to innovate, right? Because if you keep using the same ideas, you're going to keep having the same outcomes. But if we can get new people involved, we're going to get new ideas, and we're going to start to have different outcomes. And that's kind of one of the best things about living in America. We need to find new ways to express masculinity. So it doesn't need to be about dominance and control. It can lie in empathy, collaboration, leadership, equality. Men who adapt to new cultural norms are going to go far as this world moves on. And the men who don't adapt, as we're watching, that's what I feel like we're watching in real time. We're watching the men who are incapable of adapting have a complete meltdown. That is JD Vance and Donald Trump. Donald Trump today tweeted this screed about women, where he tried to act like he was protecting us, which is, of course, hilarious because he's a predator. But moreover, he doesn't understand. He still is treating us like property. If you read his screed, it's all about putting women in a bubble and then protecting them from what? From him. We're protecting us from him. Okay. So, and then the last thing about adapting to the cultural change, and this is a mind shift, and I'm going to blow your mind, but you need to value everyone's contributions. You not like it, but you have to appreciate that it's here. And the only way we're going to get ourselves, the reason I love democracy, sorry, before I go to the speech, how we're going to get ourselves out of this. I love democracy because it's alive, it's organic, and it reflects us. It reflects us. It's not perfect right now. It's got some flaws, but where I'm really excited is there's an opportunity here for our democracy to start reflecting us more. And by having a progressive female leader, and I mean progressive in that she wants to move us forward. I don't mean progressive in any other way than progress, innovation. America used to be the most amazing country in the world. And then Donald Trump showed up with his haters, and they just bitched for the last 10 years. I'm so tired of the bitching. Joe Biden and Kamala came in and just started doing the work. They kept their heads down, and for the most part, they kept their mouths shut, and they got shit done. And for a while, I didn't have to worry about who was president, because I knew who was president was running the country and building up our allies and looking out for countries that needed help and trying to solve the biggest problems we have right away. Do we have more problems? Yeah. Is every room in your house clean? well, then I bet your finances are out of whack. Like none of us has a perfect life and nobody's going to be the perfect leader, but it's time for some innovation and change. And I'm down for it. And I suspect you are too. Okay. And then finally, the last thing that we have, which is so important, is this idea of economic independence. And this might be the most difficult thing for some men. Now, the men in California are woke and they're used to women making money because why would you hate your wife making money? What is wrong with you? But there are still men who feel like their only power comes from their economic contribution. In fact, I have watched whole sitcoms where the men think their whole job is to go out, make money, and come home and sit down. Holy crap. As a single woman and a single mom by choice, rarely sat down. The work doesn't stop if you're really being a person who's involved in the planet. But the idea that for centuries or for a while, men have come in and sat down like their work here is done is nuts. So I understand there's a lot to be given up. You start taking an interest in other things and start to share the financial responsibility, because that also means you're going to share the household responsibilities and you're going to share the kids' responsibilities, the friend, keeping up with the friends' responsibilities. When's the last time your husband invited people over with your agreement that it was his idea? Usually women are doing all this stuff, all the social media, everything. So sharing financial responsibility to me seems like an opportunity I'd want if I was a man. That sounds great to me. Then you can also build confidence without control. If men can just feel, this is what I love about Emhoff, Ketanji Brown's husband, which I should know his name, but I don't, with Tim Walz. They are good. They have confidence. And none of their confidence has anything to do with their woman, other than they freaking landed good women. Like they landed hella women. And so hella great women. Sorry, let me put that in. Not hella a lot, hella great. They all got great women because they aren't insecure. And maybe the most worrisome thing about white men is their insecurity. Because I don't know how to take care of you on that level. That comes from your insides. You have to know you're a good person. You have to know you're advocating for people that don't have the same opportunity you have. You have to know that you feel good in your skin about who you are and that you're not mean or hateful, but you're actually working to lift others up. And that confidence, once you have it, once you know who you are, it is so attractive. We see you, you radiate confidence. It's very attractive. So if you aren't out with women, it's probably because you're looking at them as something to conquer and not something to share life with. And you're probably looking at them as someone who's there to serve you instead of someone who you'd like to serve. And I don't mean by screwing her and bringing home a paycheck. No, I mean serve her by lifting her up, lifting your partner up. I don't care who you're with, if it's a man or a woman, lift them up, make them feel good about themselves, make sure they leave the house every day feeling as good as you do. And if you need lifting, then ask for it. We don't know that. We'll be happy to lift you up. I love helping other people feel good about themselves. It's so easy. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm effective. Okay. And the last thing here is, of course, to encourage equal opportunity. So you are in the world, and this is all of us. Remember, we're all great guys. Wherever we see a chance where we can help somebody else have an opportunity, that's what we should do. That's just karma. That's just what we should do. We help people out, and then we get a more balanced, equitable society, and we have less anger, and we have less feral behavior, and we have people who are trying to make the world a better place. So there's my pitch. Super, super excited about watching our culture change. I think having a female president is a great idea, not because she's a female, but because she's super competent. Although I do suspect the vibe is going to be a little different, which will be nice. And I hope it'll actually make people who work for her a little bit uncomfortable, because I want people to be present when they're doing their job. And when you're uncomfortable, it means you aren't just making all the right moves and going through the motions. It means you're engaged. And that's good for all of us. I'm ready for America to become a nation of innovation again, ready for us to be leaders in international space. In space, I want to be a leader in space, but in the international culture and society. I would like us to also be leaders in internationally and show people that there is a way to let humans be citizens and not have to crush them while doing it. All right, tomorrow I'm going to be back with something a little in line with this. I hate to say it because I'm so tired of people saying woke is bad. And tomorrow I'm going to tell you why woke is good. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Talk to you tomorrow.